It's time for MacBreak Weekly. Coming up, the latest iPhone and iPad rumors. We'll take a look at a court decision that's very good for Apple and an earthquake alarm on iPhone 5. It's all coming up next on MacBreak Weekly.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for MacBreak Weekly is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is MacBreak Weekly, recorded August 23rd, 2011. Fustercluck. MacBreak Weekly is brought to you by PDF Pen and PDF Pen Pro. Go paperless and easily edit and sign PDFs with the affordable PDF Pen toolkits from Smile Software. For a free demo, visit smilesoftware.com/MacBreak. And by Hover.com. Hover's domain name registration and management is simple. For Hover's transfer concierge service free for you, visit macbreak.hover.com and use the offer code MacBreak. And by GoToMeeting. Now, with high-definition group video conferencing. For your free 30-day trial, visit gotomeeting.com. Click the Try It Free button and use the offer code MacBreak. It's time for MacBreak Weekly, the show that covers Cupertino and it's all its Byzantine operations. Yes, we cover the Cupertino City Council. We cover the sheriff's race. No, we don't. We cover Macintosh. And ladies and gentlemen, here he is, Mr. Macintosh, all the way from his Mackley lair in beautiful Massachusetts, Mr. Andy Ihnatko. He's got meters, analog meters.
Exactly, because digital is evil. It mentions nowhere in the Bible anything digital. However, analog tube amplifiers, as predicted in Leviticus, are the only true receivers.
God bless you, Andy Ihnatko. You are so right. Did you see our? Is this a coincidence, or do you realize that we are now on tube amplification?
I did not know that.
I have a 1961 AM Collins transmitter in the back of the studio here. They got the tubes fired up.
How many watts?
I saw that. And thank you for rescuing that cabinet from becoming, as it was destined to be, some sort of Halloween prop for like some sort of tell me your future.
You could actually. You could Zoltan could occupy that cabinet. Actually, there's still plenty of room even with the tubes, although Zoltan would have to be electric proof. No, it actually is working too, which is kind of cool. But it's on the AM bands. It was a 5 kilowatt transmitter, never used for more than 500 watts. To answer your question, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, Alex Lindsay asking the tough questions. That transmitter is going to be part of our AM ham transmissions, not broadcast.
I've committed myself to get a license by the end of the year.
You got to, because we're set up here.
Yes.
Although, you know, I used to think hams were just a bunch of crotchety old farts complaining about broadband over power lines. I thought that's a good idea. We'll have broadband over power lines. PG&E will be the internet service provider, our local, or Con Ed, or whoever your local electric company is. Now I'm joining them. I'm one of them crotchety old hams, because there's so much noise on all of the high-frequency bands in Petaluma, and we're starting to think that it's because they put those smart meters in here.
Oh, right.
And the data from the smart meters, guess where it goes? Down the power line.
It goes right into your ham.
It goes into your, and then right into my radio, absolutely. Hey, but you didn't tune in for that. You tuned in to find out what the heck is going on with Lion, OS 10, iOS, all that stuff. You know, actually a big story that didn't seem to perhaps tie into Apple in any way, but the big story of the week, HP getting out of the PC business, perhaps, and in the process killing WebOS. Andy Ihnatko, you wrote an interesting article on this for the Chicago Sun-Times. You blame Apple.
Not so much blame them as credit them. Because it's
a fine difference, but I think you'll understand.
Yeah, exactly. If somebody's fighter jet gets to stamp an HP logo on the side of like the cockpit window, it would be Apple's, and not exactly, and not just because of the iPad, they couldn't compete with the iPad. They tried to do it Pad, but they couldn't do an iPad. They called it Pad, but people saw it right through that little ruse. But it was also the idea that HP has sort of realized that they can't make any money by trying to sell huge volumes of hardware at a very slim margin. It's also an endorsement of Apple's basic idea, which is say we don't care that we only sell 8% of the PCs that are being shipped that are in the hands of people today. What we care about is that we're going to make enough money on each one of them that we will have a big profit by the end of the year, and that we can then go on and keep on doing cool things. HP was, depending on which number you believe, either the number 1 or the number 2 PC maker in the world, but they were making next to nothing on each one they sold. And also they suffered because HP, which we used to be one of the gold standard manufacturers for desktops and notebooks, they just kept having to figure out, okay, how can we make the cases thinner? Can we make the keyboards a little cheaper? Do people really need a great display when a good display will do? And as a result, I'd get like an HP laptop in for evaluation, and I'd think, okay, this is a very twisty, bendy sort of thing for a notebook. I don't know if that's what they were going for, but gee. So they really lost it all. So that's why they're almost completely going out of the hardware business. The new CEO is essentially a software services guy, and all the biggest acquisitions they've been making in the past 2 or 3 years outside of Palm have been companies that just sell services to digital data services to other companies. So I think the sort of odd thing is that the first casualty of the post-PC revolution is that HP, the biggest PC maker, is getting out of the PC business. They're actually taking a step backwards to be sort of like what IBM was like before IBM started making PCs. They don't care about consumer electronics anymore. They want to be a big company that sells services to other big companies.
Interesting, though, because when they started selling the touchpad for $100, they couldn't keep them in stock.
Oddly, someone on Twitter said they have based on their success selling printers, their new idea is that sell the tablet for next to nothing and make all the money on ink.
If we only needed ink to use a tablet, we'd be set.
It really was a gold rush. I've basically all my Twitter traffic for 2 days was, okay, BestBuy.com has them, and they're gone. Okay, Staples has them, and they're gone. Okay, go to the local stores, and they're gone.
HP was rumored to have made as many as 1 million of these, and they say, in fact, that they will have more. They're just they're restocking them. They're bringing them in from the warehouse. But they will.
So that turned out to be a price point that actually works.
$99 works. The problem is it costs
$300 below cost is exactly right where you want it to be.
It's estimated the teardown cost of the touchpad is about $300. So yeah, you're only losing $200 each.
Well, I think that one of the things that's happened to a lot of these manufacturers is that they have been selling these lower end PCs, the netbooks, and so on and so forth, to people who are being cost conscious. But a lot of those people are not doing things with them that they couldn't do with their iPad.
Right.
And so for that same price, that $500, $600, they're buying that instead, and Apple's making its healthy margin. And oh, by the way, if you're the type of person that wants the nicer computer, Apple sells that too.
And I also saw a story that said HP had to sell 7 computers for every one that Apple sold to make the same amount of money. So their margins razor thin. It's not a great business to be in, but you got to wonder if the #1 manufacturer of PCs in the U.S. can't make a business out of it. I feel bad for Dell and Lenovo and all the other PC manufacturers. It must be tough for them too.
Well, probably not so much. It's not certainly a company like Lenovo, which are still pretty much known as, if you want a really good notebook,
they make great
a really good PC, right? So I bet they also pretty much stayed out of the basement level pricing place, really, because that is an excellent point, because if you're spending $299, $399 on a PC, and there are plenty of PCs like that, you're probably not the sort of heavy user who wants a big, powerful processor. You're not necessarily the person who spends 8, 9, 10 hours a day on this machine. You really are going to be using it for iPad-like things, and people are going into these big box stores now and saying, I can either have this frankly very flimsy, very cheap, hard to type on, hard to use, old-looking PC, or I can have the hottest piece of personal electronics to hit the market in 2009, 2010, and beyond. It's the amazing Apple iPad, the magical device that solves all of your problems. And which one will you go for?
Anybody buy a touchpad? Anybody?
When I saw them on Staples for $49, I almost bought 2 just to give them away as gifts.
It's tempting.
I still have. I was in the middle of writing about actually preparing to finish my review of the touchpad when the news hit. So I still have one that I might decide to say, tell you what.
I don't think you're going to want it back.
It's either they're not going to want it back, or they're going to say, or I'm going to tell them, tell you what, you can either spend $23 or $25 to have FedEx ship this back to you, or I can just give you $99 and keep it.
It costs them more to sell it. they'd be happier not even to keep the money. That's going to cost them more just to take it back, refurbish it, put it back in the store for $100. No.
It is for $100. It's a hell of a nice little thing.
Do you think so? Is it? I mean, the complaints.
I really think so.
Your review and others said it's too slow for the hardware's too slow for the operating system. It's not exactly slim.
Well, okay, there are a couple factors there. For one, HP made a lot of mistakes when they designed the OS for this. It's hardwired to do a lot of data logging in case of crash recovery, and so there are a couple tricks. You can turn all that off, and it peps up immeasurably.
Oh, that's good.
All
right.
But also, when you talk about for $99, forget about the idea that you're ever going to get any apps for this whatsoever.
Right.
You have a good mail client. You have an excellent web browser that works with Hulu. It works with all the streaming video sites. It'll display any site you want. You also have the Kindle app, which is in beta but works perfectly fine. So if you just simply said $99 for a mobile web browser and media, video, photo, music player that'll last for 10 hours on battery, plus it's a color Kindle with a 10-inch screen, boy, you'd buy two at that price.
Oh, I just bought a Sony Dash.
Sony makes something called a Dash? What is that?
It was on Woot. It was on,
oh, yeah, that's their
it was a total failure.
No, I remember the Dash, actually. I would like to have a Dash. How much was that on Woot?
It was $69.
Yeah, see, that's a good deal.
So,
it's a Chumby. It's a big Chumby.
It's a big Chumby. And I got it literally because it's got Netflix. I'm gonna attach it. I'm literally going to permanently attach it to my exercise bike. You know, just kind of like, that's all I need. I don't need it to do anything else. And I was like, I don't want to put my iPad there. You know, I don't want to have, you know, I want to, you know, it's too expensive. So there is a price point that I think that even people who already have iPads like me, you know, you'll buy something cheaper just because you want to permanently install a screen. I think that's the one thing about tablets is you get, oh, it's really nice to just have a touch screen that I can, you know, grab some information. The Chumby was totally worthless. That little round thing.
They did improve the screen later, but you're right. I bought a Chumby and deeply regretted it.
Yeah, and this was for $69. You got a bigger screen. You had Netflix. You have a lot of little fun little things. Yeah, it was interesting.
If you think of it as more of a you know, fancy desk clock or alarm clock, that makes a lot of sense.
And if the iPad had not come out, I would have.
It's a wedge shape, as you just saw if you're watching the video, which means it's not exactly thin.
I'm not going to carry it around.
Thin and light.
When I bought it, I didn't expect it to be quite so wide. I looked at it. I only saw the front, and I was like, oh, it's just like an iPad, but smaller and cheaper. And then I got it, and I was like, wow, this is a lot bigger and heavier than I expected. And then I opened the box, and I was like, oh, wow, okay, but it works.
Well, that's why it's so good for your application. So at that price, you can buy two. One to actually watch Netflix in the front of the bike. You can use the other one to chock the wheels, so in case it slips off the frame, you don't go spinning off.
Perfect for that. Actually, that does segue into the rumors now on iOS. We are hearing a number of rumors about an iPhone. And the latest anti-rumor was, that rumor about a new iPad coming out this year. No, that's not going to. That wasn't. That's not but it turns out it will come out next year. Oh, well, there's it. And this rumor I like, and I think even has some credibility, that it will have a Retina display. I would sure like an iPad with, what was it, 2400 by 1500, something like that display.
Yeah, I could certainly see that happening. My
makes sense.
Problems. Yeah, it makes absolute sense. Also, they have all that HD content at the iTunes store, so they probably want to start selling devices that can, mobile devices that'll show stuff in HD. My only problem with all these rumors earlier were the idea that they would just drop it on the market the same year as the iPad 2 without giving developers any advance notice that a device with a Retina display is coming.
Yeah,
so this,
you were right.
I can certainly believe the stuff that
this makes a lot more sense.
The challenge, I think, for developers is dealing with, I mean, that's a lot of real estate, you know, to when you look at the actual pixel. I mean, if it's just doubling it, it's one thing. But
well, it also fragments now even further.
Right.
What are you developing? The iOS space. You're developing for a Retina display. You're developing it for old iPad, and you're developing for an iPhone. You're developing for an iPhone without a Retina. You got 4 big screen resolutions. It's starting to look a little like Android, actually.
All right. Exactly right. The fear would be that it would be like Android, where developers will certainly start saying, why don't we just put more crap on the screen instead of streamlining the interface?
Right.
So it really depends on what sort of message that Apple sends to developers. It's possible that they're just going to simply say, we don't really want you to start using tool palettes. We don't want you to put 30 buttons on every screen. What we want is every single time you put a button on there, it looks gorgeous. And every piece of text is going to look magazine quality. And if people thought that was a really cool thing on the tiny little iPhone display, imagine how cool that's going to be when they have something almost the size of a sheet of paper that can be a real magazine display.
I mean, I think that at that resolution on an iPad, it's going to be very hard. The last set of books that I still buy are picture books.
Oh yeah, no kidding.
But that kind of resolution on an iPad, and that's
gorgeous.
I don't think if I could carry around all those books, I don't think I'd be really buying anymore.
A number of journalists, tech journalists, got briefings from Facebook last week about big changes in privacy. The embargo was lifted about 28 minutes ago. We'll talk about that. In fact, Tom, if you want to cover it from the newsroom, I don't know if you're working on it now or not. We can go to you. We're going to take a break right now. We'll also come back, and I do want to continue with those rumors on the iPhone. Some conflicting rumors there about LTE and more, and some very good news, but both good and bad news for Michael Roberts, who's one of our guests on Triangulation a little while ago. Michael Roberts created a little MP3 upload site that he's in personal trouble for, but the good news for him and for Apple, Amazon, and others from the judge, we'll talk about that. But first, I want to talk a little bit about our friends at SmileSoft. They do such great stuff. We've talked about Text Expander, which is my absolute favorite, a must-have on every Macintosh. And smilesoftware.com/MacBreak, if you go there right now, you're going to see PDF Pen and PDF Pro. This is a time of year where I'm filling out a lot of forms for my son, for school, for sports, for all of that stuff. And, of course, nowadays, I'm happy. They don't no longer come in Word documents. They come as PDFs. But PDF's a little bit harder to edit, and that's where PDF Pen and PDF Pro are just fantastic. You open your PDFs. By the way, you can try it free for 30 days at smilesoftware.com/MacBreak. You open the PDF with it, and you can add text, images. You can paste in signatures. You can make corrections. You can fill out PDF forms. You can merge, delete, reorder pages. You can even redact information. So if there's something in there in that PDF you don't want to share, this is such a great program. I have my I keep my signatures and my initials in my PDF Pen software, and that way I can always pay. My signature is a little better than John Smith's there.
I really like this. You know, I actually have Acrobat, but I still would prefer.
Oh, it's so much better.
It's just so much cleaner.
It's so much
faster.
better. Yeah, I just love it. Oh, I got a little update. Yay, I always like it when there's an update. 5.4.1, big update there. That's probably the Lion update.
And this is all on the App Store, too.
It is. And I'll tell you what, Smile loves it if you buy it in the App Store, but if you want the 30-day trial, Apple does not allow that. So you have to go to smilesoftware.com/MacBreak. And as always, I love our advertisers to give you, free trials, because what better way to get an idea of what software will do for you than try it for yourself. I got to warn you, you're going to be hooked. One of the things PDF Pen Pro does is you can convert websites into multi-page PDFs. You can create PDF forms that are cross-platform, Windows and Mac. You could do all sorts of cool stuff with PDF Pen and PDF Pen Pro. $60 for the PDF Pen, $99.95 for PDF Pen Pro. You decide which one is right for you, but you can try them both free right now. smilesoftware.com/MacBreak. And a hearty hello and a smile for Gene and everybody at Smile Software. We love them, and we're so glad that you support the MacBreak show. They're nice people. It's one of the things I like about Mac developers. They tend to be nicer. Maybe they're not so angry.
I think that if you survive in the Mac platform,
maybe that's it.
I think because we tend to be particular.
It's more of a high-touch industry, too. You kind of know your customers better. You're involved with them and everything. So let's talk about the iOS 5 rumors. Now, the latest, and Andy, I bet you have some input on this, and Alex, I don't know if you've got your ear to the ground too, but the latest is there will be a cheap, relatively cheap, maybe $99, maybe $50 iPhone 4S that'll have 8 gigs of RAM.
It sounds like in plastic pieces.
And cheaper. And then a fancier one, the iPhone 5, which will be a true world phone because it will have both CDMA and GSM chipsets. It'll have all the frequencies. It'll be the phone you'll want if you're a traveler because you can go anywhere.
Right.
And it'll be sold both on Verizon and AT&T. Does that anybody any thoughts about that, Andy? Does that kind of jibe with what you're hearing?
I definitely believe that there's going to be a refresh to the iPhone 4. I keep going back and forth on whether or not I believe there's going to be an iPhone 5 this year. Because
they could save it for June and then be back on track.
Yeah, and I'll see a lot of what I'm hearing about the idea of an iPhone 5 is simply the concept that, as silly as this sounds, they know that it's a very, very big deal to say iPhone 5 as opposed to let's put another letter after iPhone 4. and that they would almost want to make sure they have a new case design and make sure that this iPhone 5 does something the iPhone 4 does not do. And we're not talking about, oh, it's a faster processor, oh, it's an 8 gigabyte camera, oh, it's a dual band, it's international. We're talking about some new feature that makes it even better at what brings brand new things to the table the iPhone 4 doesn't do. So, but unfortunately, we get back to the idea that I just don't know about the iPhone 5. I would be shocked if we didn't see an iPhone 4. That would be unprecedented and also maybe even a seriously bad move for Apple. The fact that they didn't release anything in June implies that whatever they're going to be telling us about the refreshed iPhone that's coming out in September and October, it's something that people can only really appreciate once iCloud is not only been announced but also is up and running.
Right. And he's cutting in and out a little bit on his Skype. Oh, there it goes. Looks like we lost him. So we'll call Skype. We'll call Andy right back.
I actually think that the plastic, when they said plastic components, a plastic back, possibly plastic front face, I was like, I kind of want that.
Why make a phone out of glass? My son has gone through 4 or 5 of them now.
I was like, that's not. I don't know. That's not making it cheaper. I would really prefer the back to be plastic.
Most phones are either metal or plastic. I don't know. I mean, Apple is the only phone that I know of that has not only a glass front, you have to do that for the touch screen, but a glass back. I mean, what is that all about?
Probably 10 or 15% of the people that I know that have them
smashed.
The back has been smashed. And so I would love to have a plastic back. It could look the same.
Now, so the speculation is that a iPhone, first of all, by the way, and I should mention this, that Kara Swisher was adamant last week on Twit, she's with All Things D, that her sources are the right sources. It's October, she said. Of course, we've seen rumors that it could be as early as September 7th, that Apple's going to have an event September 7th. And now people like Peter Rojas, who was on Twit this past week, the gadget guy, he said, late September, early October. He's hedging his bet. It'll be either September or October, but late September, early October. So we may not find out. I think an iPhone 4S, if they do this incremental update, at least do this, will have no more than perhaps an A5 processor. That's the processor that's in the iPad 2, the dual-core processor. We do hear all those rumors that it's an 8-megapixel camera. I believe that. I don't think there's urgency to go to 8 megapixels.
I mean, the rumors are, though, that they're looking at making something like 50 million. I mean, like, just incredible.
Of the next
numbers.
one. Now, see, that's what they're saying is 25 million of the, again, I guess it's who you listen to, because this is all BS, right? It's all made up. It's all made up. But the rumors are that they're going to have 25 million iPhone 5s.
Right.
The big question I think you want to ask over and over again is, will we have 4G in any of these iPhones? Now, the Boy Genius report last week claimed that Apple had been testing a 4G LTE-enabled iPhone, and they pointed to an internal iOS test build at one of Apple's mobile partners that had a plist file in it for LTE. And now Arthur Kim at Mac Rumors is saying we've since discovered the same LTE plist in at least the last couple of developer builds of iOS 5. So it says LTE. You could see connected mode LTE intra-frequency measurement. But that doesn't necessarily mean the hardware will support it. It would only be prudent to put this into iOS at some point.
I think it does. I think Apple tends to be behind on these things. They tend to let the iPhone mature.
Had 3 iterations. I mean, the first iteration wasn't even 3G; it was 2G.
Right. And it was out there. So I think Apple's track record is that they're going to wait for it to be much more.
Although Verizon's beating the drum, they say we're in 15 more markets. I
just upgraded my Wi-Fi.
Makes a difference.
I was in.
Do we have 4G here? No, San Francisco does though.
Yesterday, I went and picked it up, and I was like, okay, speed test.
It's a big
17
difference.
Down, 12 up. I was like, okay. Really.
Some of that's because nobody else has it.
I like that. I think that 4G is a really bad idea. I don't think anyone should actually go out and use it. I think you really want.
Yeah, terrible. Don't buy it. What do you think, Andy? 4G?
I really don't know. Well, the problem is that.
Well, I know you don't know. Nobody knows.
I'm just starting off by acknowledging my ignorance.
We are all ignorant.
I'm sorry. I'll put
when
on
has
like
ignorance ever stopped a pundit?
Exactly.
I'm a different kind of pundit.
I know.
I am
Shame
the
on
humble.
you. Shame.
All I'm saying is that there are 2 or 3 variables with 4G. Apple's track record has always been that they're not afraid to be the last to market with a certain feature if it means that they're not happy with how that they'd be able to implement that feature on this day. And right now, 4G is there's a three syllable word starting with the word cluster that I'd like to do as a spoonerism, but I would probably screw it up and then we get the explicits tag. But that is exactly the situation.
Fustercluck?
A cluster luck.
A Fustercluck.
Again, see,
you got to be careful.
A Fustercluck. A Fustercluck. It is a complete Fustercluck.
Well, it's not only that; it's a battery hog or a hattery bog.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's I traveled when I had like my big international Goodwill tour earlier this year. I had 3 different 4G phones from about 3 different carriers, and which one actually would produce a solid 4G signal was kind of a crapshoot. Verizon was the best of the 3, but you can never count on getting 4G even in major cities. And the second thing is that you do have to spend 3 or 4 days learning how to manage the 4G radio if you want to be able to actually have a living thing pulled out of your pocket as opposed to just a pretty hunk of plastic and glass.
Apple is rumored to be hiring more LTE engineers, though. That's not a rumor. That's job postings.
And that's true too, but also points to the fact that Apple's in an unusual position where Samsung and HTC and these other manufacturers, they can produce essentially 2 different versions of the exact same phone labeled differently and with minute changes, so that AT&T and Verizon, for instance, have different versions and different names of the same phone. Whereas Apple will only have the iPhone. And so if they decide to make a 4G-enabled version of the iPhone and AT&T and Verizon both get it at the same time, suddenly we have one phone that's kind of the crappy version of the iPhone and one iPhone that's actually the really good iPhone. And it's all going to be based on which of these networks can actually deliver 4G coverage. So it's possible that they're going to wait until there's a more consistency between their 2 major carriers before they're going to roll out 4G and really commit their brand to 4G or 4G LTE.
I'd like to see this feature. This is in iOS 5. I think this is really cool. In Japan, iOS 5 turns Japanese phones into earthquake alarms. This story from Engadget Mobile. Apple has put this into... there have been apps to do this, but this is in iOS 5. And they have an alarm system, a national alarm system for tsunamis, earthquakes, and so forth. And iOS 5 is going to have this built into the Notification Center settings pane. You could turn it off with that little button there. And what will happen is your phone will give you a tsunami alert or earthquake alert.
The tsunami alert makes sense. The earthquake alert,
we don't know.
I'm kind of like, well, you already know.
It's mostly a tsunami, I think.
I find that... In California, my mirror is a pretty good earthquake alert.
The cup of coffee.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think I need my iPhone. I don't need electronics for that. I have analog components.
I think that's so cool, though.
It is.
I think
the tsunami. Well, I was driving. There was an Amber Alert.
Right, they put that up on the highways.
I was like, they should just install an Amber Alert. Onto. I mean, there's a lot of people doing it, but that's the kind of thing you want running.
How much extra would you pay
for an Amber Alert?
Yeah, I mean, somebody's got to absorb the cost of that.
I don't actually want $2 for the app.
I don't want my app. Oh, it's an app. You make it an app.
That's running in the background that pops up.
Yeah, you're a parent of small children. I don't really want to know. That's what the police are for.
I want to know.
Yeah. Where are you going to go run out and look for that white, tan Chevy? I know. You probably have a shotgun in the rack.
I'm from the country.
I'm not go for that guy.
If I saw someone on an Amber Alert, I wouldn't call the police.
Just drive over and say, hello, boy.
I wouldn't say hello.
We're going to come in just a bit. We're going to take a break, come back in just a bit. We're going to go to Tom Merritt in the newsroom and get the latest. There is a big privacy announcement from Facebook. I think a very interesting privacy announcement from Facebook. In fact, the most sweeping privacy announcement they've ever made. Before we do that, though, let's talk a little bit about hover.com. If you are looking for somewhere to register your domain name, Squarespace is a sponsor. And we tell people that, if you're going to go to Squarespace, you want to get that domain name, that custom domain name, you start with hover.
I'm done. That's all. I am sold.
It's
done.
So great.
Over. I got to the end of buying my first one a couple months ago, and I was like, "Am I done?
Yeah.
Is that it?"
It's
like
2 clicks.
Yeah.
You get that other site, you 50 clicks, and you still, they're still trying to sell you something. One of the things I like now is that they know that you're going to want domain privacy, right? In the Whois database, you don't want your home address and phone number in there, so that's built in. That you don't even pay extra for that, so that's one less click. Oops, I typed the wrong address here. Let me go in there. MacBreak.hover.com. Here it is. So here's what you do. You go to hover.com. This is the domain registrar we use and recommend. MacBreak.hover.com. You can get a new domain name. Let's see. What would be a good domain name? Frosty. Fusterclucks.com. I bet you nobody has that. What do you bet? Let's just search for there. And if look I can get that domain name. I'm so darned excited.
And if you don't get it, someone watching.
About to say someone's about to.
Not only can I get FrostyLusterCluck.com, I can get FrostyLusterCluck.net, FrostyIce.com, FrostyLuster. I better not.
Talk carefully. Talk carefully.
My daddy was a chicken plucker.
Listeners, what's the over/under on how many times you could say that before?
FrostyLusterCluck.info, FrostyLusterCluck.co, FrostyLusterCluck.ca, FrostyLusterCluck.cc. Look at all this. FrostyLusterCluck.biz if you want to make a business out of it. FrostyLusterCluck.me.
He's doing so well. We haven't gotten to an edit point yet.
If you were one of those people who has a personal page. FrostyLusterCluck.tv if you want to do streaming video. FrostyLusterCluck.us if you're in America. It just goes on and on. Look, here's FrostyLusterCluck. In case you couldn't get Frosty Lustercluck. Here's Frosty Luster Fortune. Here's Frosty Passioner Cluck. Anyway, it's all here. And the other thing I like about Hover is if you've got an existing domain, and you may want to transfer this over. In fact, I transferred all my domains over. I wish I had used their domain transfer concierge service. I was being cheap. It's $25 for all your sites, and they do all the transfers. I wish, frankly, I had done this. Now, for listeners to our show or viewers of our show, it's absolutely free. Just call the phone number, 866-731-6556. It's on the website. Just mention that you want to take advantage of this, and they'll do it for you for free. The transfer costs $10 per domain for everything but .co. $10 per domain, and you get another year, so you're getting like this great bargain.
That's great.
They want you as a customer. I want you to try it. I think you'll be glad. It is really fantastic. And if you need a new .com domain, you can get it from hover.com for only $15, including domain privacy, by going to macbreak.hover.com.
Yeah, it looks more expensive when you start, but then after you realize
you're getting the domain. Yeah, I mean, you're not. Those not all these add-ons. It's great for email. If you want an email address that never changes, that's what I recommend. You could point that email to Gmail or Hotmail or whatever you want to use, but you have a custom domain with your name, Frosty Lustercluck, in it. And I wish that were my name. Hi, Leo Frosty Lustercluck. Good to meet you. MacBreak.hover.com. Use the Hover, the offer code MacBreak at the end when you check out. I think we've got the wrong lower third on there for the offer, because it is now that $15.com with the show code MacBreak. Give it a try. And the free concierge service, too, which is really nice. All right, let's head over to Tom Merritt. He is in the TNT newsroom. You know, we have a daily news show every weekday, Monday through Friday, 2:30 p.m. Pacific, 5:30 Eastern. Tom Merritt, Ayaz Akhtar, Sarah Lane covering the tech news. And the big story that they're covering just broke at when we went on the air, and I'm actually very curious. Facebook has changed its privacy policies dramatically. Tom, what's the story?
We don't know if there's a link between the change in the privacy policy and the 5.9 earthquake on the East Coast.
Cover either or both.
But we do know what Facebook's doing to change, not their privacy policy, but the way that you control stuff. So one of the big things that's getting attention is inline profile controls. When you start to share something on Facebook, you'll get a drop-down menu that says, I want to make this public. They're actually changing the name everyone to public, or friends of friends, or friends. You'll also be able to add in your own customized groups in there. Photo tag review. So if someone tags you in a photo, you get to approve that tag before it gets added to
That's
the profile,
huge, because
before it gets put up on the internet for everyone else to see.
That's a big deal, because people were just tagging you. You know, my bathing suit pictures were showing up, and I don't have any control over it.
And I apologize for that.
Yeah. Screw you, Merritt!
Content tag review. You have the option to review and approve or reject any tag someone tries to add to your photos and posts. So it's kind of the same thing as the profile thing in reverse. Somebody says, hey, that's Darth Vader. You go, no, that's not Darth Vader. You can view your profile the way others see it. There's going to be a little drop-down menu that says, let me see it the way everyone sees it. Or public.
Isn't that
let me
great?
See it the way, so that I can see what's actually being shared very easily. This rolls out to 1% of users starting Thursday. and then it'll keep rolling out from then on. So if you don't see it right away, that's why.
This seems like a response to Google Plus because it's almost exactly the kind of granularity you have every time you share with Google Plus.
Yeah, they say they address that head on. They're like, we've been working on this for 6 months. We wish we could throw stuff together fast enough that this would be a response to Google Plus. Things just don't move that fast.
Right.
At the same token, the way they're presenting it very much is aimed at saying, hey, you know that thing the other people do? We do that now too.
Right. Thank you, Tom Merritt. TNT coming up 2:30 this afternoon. I'm sure they'll be covering that and all the tech news here at live.twit.tv. Big court decision. Michael Roberts. You remember Michael Roberts? He was the guy who did mp3.com, and that was a site that screwed us all. It was his fault.
All fine until then.
It was all fine until then. mp3.com. The idea was you upload all your music, and it would keep one copy. And so all you had to do was show you owned a song. You wouldn't have to upload it even. I used the wrong word. You'd put your CD in, it would look at the CD and say, yeah, I got that. It's in your library now. So it was a cloud music service, much like Amazon's, much like iCloud hopes to be, much like Google's music hopes to be. But you didn't have to upload anything. You just would put your CDs in, and it would very quickly say, yeah, we got that, we got that, we got that, and now you've got it. They got sued out of business. This was some years ago.
Setting precedent.
Setting a huge precedent. Nobody could do this. Well, he created a new... Michael just doesn't take no for an answer. Last year, he created a new service called MP3 Tunes. Same idea. And a judge has just ruled this week, that it does not violate copyright laws to keep a single copy of an MP3 on servers. It is within the realm of the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. It's okay.
Well, and it's very restrictive, though. I mean, it is a bit for bit.
It has to be exact.
Exact. I mean, it cannot be. I have Stairway to Heaven on.
I have the live version, and you have the.
Or you bought the one on Amazon, and I bought and I ripped mine.
To be the same.
If I ripped mine, and there's
right.
and that doesn't match up.
In fact, ripping is going to be an issue because when you rip, it is always a little bit different. You know, depending on the encoder and stuff. It will really be most valuable for digital copies that you purchase on Amazon, iTunes, the big services,
or digital copies that people have downloaded that are popular.
BitTorrent, if everybody has that BitTorrent version.
The most popular.
Now,
clouds.
it didn't help. Poor Michael is still on the hook for stuff he personally uploaded, of all things. But this is very big. The ruling makes it clear if MP3 Tunes scanned a customer's music collection and found Stairway to Heaven ripped from a CD with a slightly different file size, that isn't the same. That's not the master copy. But I don't know if you remember when Google announced its Google Music at Google I/O this year. They showed a little box that you would wave with near-field communications, I guess, or something that you would wave a CD at, and it would say, I got that. And then it would be in your cloud. That's the kind of service that they could conceivably implement now.
Well, that was a magic show sort of feature.
It was, wasn't it?
Where basically if you have this feature relies on Google convincing the entire recording industry to make sure that every single commercial CD is chipped, so that that every single computer that wants to use this feature has an RFID near-field communications receiver and can make that work. So that's not they're features that in these keynotes there are features that they're actually shipping. And then there's features that wouldn't it be? Can you imagine the year 2000 where we'll be able to access our music this way? And that's not the way it works. But it's an interesting decision.
It's huge for Apple, though, isn't it?
Well, not really, because Apple is on a different playing field. This is huge for Amazon. It's huge for Google because there are two different things that this ruling emphatically upheld, which is that if you have a cloud service, it's perfectly okay for you to have software inside that cloud service that allows people to play back and stream music that they themselves have uploaded. That does not. So that's exactly what Google Music does. That's exactly
so
what.
So Groove Shark is a big winner here, and Turntable.fm.
Amazon is Dropbox. All these services allow you to stream.
Dropbox,
The other thing that it demonstrated is that these services also fall under the same imprimatur as Google does with YouTube, where you cannot the recording industry cannot go after Amazon, because if someone uploads illegal content to Amazon and streams it through that server, they're not responsible for policing the content that other people that their users post. Their only obligation is that if the RIA says that Gern Blanston has the White Album and he didn't pay for it, it's Amazon's responsibility to take down that copy of the White Album that Gern Blanston uploaded.
Thank God.
But Apple, but the thing that's being misconstrued a little bit in some of the commentary I've been reading is that it does not say that Amazon, for instance, does not need to. That just because somebody says tells this service, "Hey, I have a copy of the White Album," that does not mean that the service now has the ability to essentially say, "Nope, no need to upload it. We'll give you a copy of the White Album available for streaming." But services like Amazon, that component where I can simply upload my own music into the cloud player and stream it, perfectly good. Apple's not affected because remember that they're the company that decided to say, you know what, we're not even going to experiment with this. We're going to cut deals with all these broadcasters.
Right. They have licenses.
To make sure that we have licenses for it.
So in a way, actually, Apple prematurely paid for this.
Well, not necessarily. They know they've got this feature locked up.
Right.
Amazon has this feature because they're Amazon. They have billions of dollars. They feel as though not only did they run it past their own lawyers, but they basically feel as though if it came to a lawsuit, they would have no problems in keeping this going. And remember that their music locker feature only applies to music that people have purchased from Amazon MP3. They're just saving the user the trouble of downloading an MP3 and then re-uploading it back to the server.
We should point out that Michael Robertson, MP3 Tunes was his thing, but he does currently work for Google because Google bought one of his other companies. So in a way, Google's the one that could very well have funded this fight. Well, it also says, according to Wired, side loading is legal. So if you go to a music blog or you find a song on another site that you don't have on your hard drive, you still can say, I want this in my cloud locker. I'm not sure how that would work, but they said it's legal as long as the company removes the links and all songs added to lockers via that link when a copyright holder tells the site the link is infringing. So really the burden is on the copyright holder to say, oh, no, that side loader wasn't a legitimate side loader, but this one maybe is.
That's classic DCMA.
Yeah.
Essentially, I had to reread that section too. I think it seems to apply to if you have a feature that says on your cloud service that says instead of having to actually upload it, give me the URL of the file that you want moved into, and it will actually copy that file from the source to the destination. They seem to be saying that this is no different than the user uploading the file directly from their local storage into the cloud. They still have the same obligations where if someone's if someone is taking software from a torrent site, you can't add a feature to Amazon Cloud Player that's a built-in BitTorrent client because that's kind of not going to fly.
So does it mean that you have to upload the song still or no? I misread this. I took it to mean you could merely verify that you owned it and it would be sufficient. That's not the case. What it really says is that the company, once you upload it, doesn't have to keep multiple copies if they can say that these are bit identical. They only have to keep one. This was the problem with Dropbox. Dropbox had been doing this. They'd been saying, oh, yeah, it's the same song as this, so we're only going to store one copy so we don't overload our servers.
And that was specifically ruled against for the reasons that you mentioned earlier, where I can't simply say, hey, I've got this 56K from 1997, and you can't replace it with a 256K AAC for streaming purposes. You have to. It's the basic principle is that if I, the user, take a file that I own or have control of and upload it into a company's cloud service, that company is not responsible for making sure that that's not a copyright violation. And so long as they respond to a takedown notice, they're perfectly pure as the clean snow.
And this is good for Apple because Apple does have that feature where you pay, what was it, $30 a year? And
iTunes Music Match.
And they will replace your 56K copy with a good copy.
Well, and Apple's version is much different than this because what you're really, it doesn't need to find one that's identical. It doesn't need to, you don't need to.
It's just doing it by name and artist and boom, that's it.
Exactly. And so Apple still is getting their money's worth, out of their little purchase because this is not going to necessarily lead to any new features by Amazon or Google because the issue is that the user is, if they rip their own CDs, this isn't going to really work because all of those files are going to be slightly original, most likely. And so that, they're still going to have to upload those because they're not allowed to store them unless they're identical. So there's a lot of issues there where it doesn't really help as much as it may seem on the surface.
And remember that iTunes Music Match is a form of amnesty, where if you did download like 100 megabytes, 100 gigabytes of stuff off of BitTorrent, or if you just ripped all your roommate's CD collections illegally, doesn't matter if you pay the $25 a year, you have you have a license to have access to all those copies of the songs.
I guess we'll all be paying that $25.
It's a pretty. I think a lot of.
It's from Monopoly. It's my get out of jail free card. No. You see, I paid the $25.
I will be washed. I think of it more as being washed clean of my sins.
Well, and I think that there's a.
Yeah, it's like buying an indulgence, like in the 14th century.
Right. You say it's Monopoly. I say I've been baptized.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I killed my servant, but you know what? That's a really bad looking leak in your church's roof. What do we do what can we do to solve each other's problems here? I'm gonna keep on counting out money. You tell me when to stop, okay, Father?
I have St. Iggy's pinky in this box, and that's gonna keep me from going to heck. All right, let's. I'm really treading a fine line here. Let's take a break. We're gonna come back. There is one Apple product they just cannot keep in stock. The demand is so great for. Take a guess what it would be. The demand is so great for Apple cannot keep it in stock. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But first, I want to talk a little bit about our good friends at Citrix who have done such a great thing. We talk about GoToMeeting all the time as the best way to meet online. And you know how I use it. We use it all the time. It's just fantastic. Better than an in-person meeting because you stay where you are, they stay where they are, but you can see what's on your screen. And if you're doing a sales presentation, you can show them the keynote or the PowerPoint, different strokes, and they see it, and it's just like they're there.
3 times a day, right now for me.
Is that how often you use this?
We have a big event next week, and I'm on 3 GoToMeetings.
You know why I like this? Because it's really easy to set up a meeting. You just click a button, and boom, the email goes out. Everybody's got the link.
Reminders.
It has built-in VoIP. Well, now they got this new thing, which I just think is just mind-boggling. It's called HD Faces, and it makes GoToMeeting visual. Up to 6 people at the same time in high def, crystal clear. There is something so cool about seeing people's faces, their expressions, their reaction to what you're saying. This is transformational, and I've been playing with this HD. Have you had any HD?
I have not yet.
Meetings yet? It is spectacular.
It looks great.
Oh my God, it's good. They showed it to us. Like I was very frustrated because I don't normally do NDAs or embargoes, but they showed it to me a couple of months ago, and I couldn't talk about it. It was just driving me crazy. GoToMeeting with HD Faces for Mac or PC, completely cross-platform. For product reviews and demos, training sessions, sales presentations, weekly status meetings. Use it just right from your desk. Visit the site, GoToMeeting.com. Click the Try It Free button right there, and then enter in our special code for 30 days free. It's just MacBreak. I don't know. I'm spelling it out. You know how to spell it. MacBreak. Right there, and you get 30 days free, including that amazing video. Everybody nowadays, everybody you meet with has, a webcam, and suddenly you're seeing them. Valerie Koo is in here visiting us from Australia. I could have a meeting. You don't even have to come here to do your research. You just do GoToMeeting and be just like you're here. GoToMeeting.com. Click the Try It Free button. Use the offer code MacBreak. We thank them so much for their support of MacBreak Weekly. It's like Andy Ihnatko's right here. It's like I like it that you wore purple. We've got now the purple lights because that's the MacBreak Weekly color.
I try to coordinate, just like the Hulk's pants. That's what you think of when you think of MacBreak Weekly.
Are the Hulk's pants coordinated?
They're purple.
Oh, but isn't he green?
I don't know if that was.
He's green though, right?
Yes, and that's actually. I'm sorry. That was at least a 15-minute rat hole about interesting things I learned about how colorists in the 1960s regarded color. That every time you notice that like all of Spider-Man dresses in red and blue, and so all of their and so his the Green Goblin dresses in green and purple. The Fantastic Four wear blue costumes, and so Doctor Doom wears like a green tunic. And every time there's like green characters, they fight blue characters, and vice versa. It turns the theory behind that is that colorists always thought in terms of the basic color wheel in the '60s,
and it was always on the opposite side of the color wheel. That would be the bad guy.
Not only that, because if they would think about what colors the hero should be, and then they want the villain to be at least distinctive, so they would always color the villain at the opposite end so that it'd be easier to make out, or because subconsciously they figure, well, he's the bad guy, so he must be the opposite.
Wow.
I thought it was cool when I first heard about that 8 years
I think
ago.
that's very cool. I didn't know that. I had no idea. Well, I've just crashed Google Chrome. You know, lately, I don't know. Have you noticed this? For some reason on the Mac, I don't know if it's on the Windows side as well, but on the Mac, Google Chrome, the newest version, which I think is 13.0, crashes a lot more than Safari does. I might have to go back to Safari. Have you guys noticed that, or maybe it's just me?
Nope, I have too.
Have you?
A lot.
Eileen's noticed that, yeah.
I haven't noticed it at all.
I get that snap thing. They have a blue screen of death in Chrome. You haven't? Because you use Safari.
Sorry.
Do you use Safari too, Andy?
I use Safari. But I'm disappointed by the fact that I always have to have Safari and Chrome running at the same time, so that when one locks up temporarily, I can just tab into the other and get that information that I needed.
Yeah, at least you got the choice, right?
Browsers stink, yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe it's just the web isn't.
Even if that's the only reason why you bought an HP touchpad, just so that you could have one machine that's just a browser that could always keep it next to your desktop or next to your MacBook, so that you can always have a functional browser when something on your CPU on your main machine is borked. That's worth $99 to me.
I think it's a Lion thing. It's interesting. We're starting to see more and more Lion updates of software. Dropbox shipped. You may not have it yet. Dropbox isn't pushing it out right away. So if you haven't, if you've had problems with Dropbox on Lion, there's a new version. Go get that. Carbonite, one of our sponsors, has updated for Lion. Lion drivers are starting to come out now, more and more. And I think it's file system stuff, low-level stuff that really seems to have a problem. I'm not sure if there's. Let me check. Excuse me, if there's a URL for Dropbox, or can you just have you tried this? Can you just say Dropbox and update me? It came out on Thursday.
Yeah, I think if you go directly to Dropbox.com, you can download and install it.
Manual install, Dropbox.com/install, and you'll get 1.1.40, and that's the one you want. 1.1.40. So I'm going to do that right now.
They're also you never use Dropbox.com because it's so well integrated into the OS. But if you go to the site itself, you can access forums, or we can get beta software and get advanced copies of stuff. So that's been floating around for like a week or two. Something like that.
Okay. Came out officially Thursday.
You wouldn't trust anything like that until it's actually signed, sealed.
I wouldn't. You know, I've been using something called Spider Oak lately. Have you ever seen that?
Spider
Oak.
No.
It's kind of like Dropbox. It's like kind of Dropbox on steroids. So you have backup, you have sync. You can buy space. I ended up buying 100 megabytes because the 2 megabytes free is just never enough. It's a little cheaper than Dropbox to buy more space, and it seems to have versions for every operating system. I don't know. It's a little more geeky.
Yeah, it looks slick.
Yeah. The reason I got it is, unlike Dropbox, it has what Steve Gibson calls pre-egress encryption, or P. Actually, we've now called it Pi because P is not so nice as Pi.
It pees up to the web?
Yeah. So because Dropbox, you remember that there was this kind of issue where they could see your stuff.
Right.
Even though they had quote encryption, they had the keys as well. Spider Oak, you generate the key, encrypts before it uploads, so they can't see your stuff. Only you have the key. So that's the main reason I switched over. I'm just playing with it. I'll let you know. I used Walla for a while. I didn't like that because it wasn't native. It was Java. But I'm kind of liking Spider Oak. Just a thought. I'll just mention that. Throw that in. A freebie. Let me go back to our rundown. Apple looking to knock out New York City knockoffs. Apple closed those stores in China,
right?
Or at least tried to, and the Chinese government said, "Yeah, we're going to close them." Not because they're counterfeit, because they don't have proper licenses.
They didn't fill out the proper.
They didn't fill out the forms. Not because they're illegal. Apparently, New York City has a similar problem. I didn't know this. these aren't knockoff Apple stores. These are knockoff Apple products.
Oh, yeah.
And Apple is a little unhappy. Now, I've always been able to go down to Chelsea, the Chelsea market down there, and buy, you know, Rolexes.
I was going to say, what is New York without knockoffs?
You got to have knockoffs. Apple has filed a pair of trademark infringement lawsuits against 2 stores in Queens. Well, that doesn't count. Queens isn't New York.
There's a lot of angry New Yorkers right now.
This is not the Apple Store. This is the Apple Story. And that wouldn't confuse you, would it? The Apple Story, you'd know the difference. And the Fun Zone, they've been selling not real iPods, iPhones, and iPads, but fake ones, even though they say on them, designed by Apple in California, assembled in China. I guess that's strictly true still, though, right?
Exactly. They're still
Strictly speaking, that's not a lie. Defendants are trading on and receiving the benefit of the goodwill Apple has established in the Apple trademarks through considerable labor and expense over many years, Apple said in its complaint. It also wants a list of suppliers. So if you're in Queens, you might want to run over to the Apple Story and get your knockoff. I'm not tempted.
Well, they're all over the place. With my
are they?
Whenever I'm in New York, I always get my comics at Midtown Comics on 40th Street. That's on the corner of 40th and 7th Avenue for all your Midtown Comics needs, from the new to the old, anime. And
blah blah blah.
Sorry, I started auditioning to be the official pitchman for Midtown Comics. But there's
actually
like
you could do movie phone. We were doing that on Sunday. I think he's the guy.
I've got free time. I could just from about 2 p.m.
Press
to
1 for the next movie.
Well, you really want to see the Smurfs movies? Well, okay, 2:10. Really?
This sounds like Kermit. All right.
There's one of the those millions of little electronic stores in Midtown Manhattan. There's one that's always right next to the staircase you go up to go to Midtown Comics, and the window is always full of just absolutely display perfect versions of the iPod.
Wow.
And every time I get my comics, which is like maybe just 4 or 5 times a year that plays, I always stop and look at the window saying, "Yep, they got the new one. Oh, good, they got the new Nano. Oh, interesting."
As LG in our chat room says, it's an original fake Apple product.
It's an homage.
We've started to do something. We started it a couple of weeks ago, and I think it's going very well. Our tips of the week before we get to our apps of the week. Let's start with our iOS tip of the week, and I can't remember. I think you're the iOS guy, right, Alex? Lindsay? Whoa! That was ocular. What was it? What do you call those? Specular highlights.
I think that was
They're called flares.
Lens flare.
Sunburst.
That's not a specular highlight?
No.
That's a lens flare.
It's a lens flare. Now, a specular highlight, if it's bright enough, can become a lens flare.
Sorry I brought this up.
All right, so
iOS tip. You know, I have a camera over my shoulder. Should I follow along as you tell me what to do?
Not on this one.
Okay.
Because I'm talking about mail.
Okay.
I don't know.
Oh, we don't want to show your mail. Okay.
Yeah, so, it might make sense actually, but I just don't know what mail's in there.
Walk us
so
through
here's
it.
the thing. Is that, actually, you can do it because it's in the actual setup. So there's a couple things that I like to adjust on my mail, and that is first of all, a lot of people. You get that first 2 lines, you can't figure out what to do with.
Right.
And I like to scan. So if you go over here, there we go.
Nope. This one up here. That one there.
Dang.
There you go.
There.
So
look at that. That's beautiful. We never had that before. We have to thank Eileen and Jason for All About Android for this over-the-shoulder shot.
Yes, it looks great.
Ooh, that's pretty.
So one thing to remember is you're going through a lot of this stuff, and there's a couple things that a lot of people often forget about is you can change the number of lines you can preview. And so you go to 5 lines, and now you're going to see, instead of 2, you're going to see 5 lines in your mail.
Right.
And the thing is, and I often tell people, if you're wondering, if you ever meet me, I say don't write more than 5 lines. That's why.
Now, you have something on here that's kind of risky. You allow it to load remote images. I usually turn that off. I know it's annoying when you get HTML mail and you can't see the picture, but it's also the way that spammers and others can kind of...
they can track them. We'll turn that off. There's a trick. So Leo has added one.
Turn that sucker off, and unless you... it's not like you're going to get a security issue in here, although it could be in theory. But mostly it's just that you don't want to let them know you read that mail.
Usually with Gmail, I have to admit, which is where most of my mail goes through, most of that's gone.
Yeah.
So then the other thing that a lot of people forget is that I was just talking to someone who was complaining about, I always have to delete the sent by. Well, you can change that. If you go down to signature, right there.
This one?
Yeah.
I hate it when it says sent from my iPad.
So you can make that anything you want.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the thing to remember is that when you're sending stuff, you can just delete it, or you can send it from my. You can say.
You know what I actually always do on mine? I put in a blank line. I type my name. So that way I don't have to sign these emails. I put another blank line. This is the canonical. Nobody knows this anymore, but in the old days of email, back when email really was email, if you put 2 dashes followed by a space in a new line, that was the signal that the next thing is your signature. I don't know of any software that ever paid any attention to that, but that's it. And you know, you could put anything here you want.
Right. So that's a combined tip from Leo and myself on how to work on some of your mail. I just know a lot of people just use it straight up the way it comes in.
There's a lot you can do to
lot of
fix
little
it.
fun things
Absolutely.
that you can do to adjust those. And so that's my tip.
I'm going to make his medium font size really big. That's my tip for messing with people.
I don't really think that that's appropriate.
I like it. I do like it though that what the top font size is giant.
That's something I'd actually like to judge because I'd like mine to say "we," not so "we," and frickin' huge,
frickin' gigantic, enormous, huge. That's our iOS tip of the week. And now, it sounds like a hairball when I do that. Our lion tip of the week from Andy Ihnatko. In the village, the quiet village, the lion sleeps. Just give me a weem away.
Sorry, I was having fun.
No, I thought you're in the middle of a really good bit. I don't want to see how the bit's like that.
No, that's it. It's downhill from here. Go ahead.
You ever think that in a mall they should just release lions so that if you're going to be wasting time there anyway, you should have to risk your life to get there?
Yeah, make it more exciting.
Louis C.K., ladies and gentlemen, Louis C.K.
I do think lions like to hunt gazelles.
That was a joke.
That was a joke.
I'm afraid I was up very early this morning.
Did you write this in?
I put my stuff. Well, I was.
If you want to get a gazelle, it's key to think ahead of the gazelle. Where will it go? Did you write this? What were you on? How can you let it think it's getting away while it's working towards one of your compatriots? Watch the gazelle for a few days. You'll see the cyclical nature of its roaming. It's not random. Scare it, and it will run that circle quickly. Have a partner waiting on that circle, and nom nom nom, lion is happy. What the hell were you smoking, Alex Lindsay?
It was like 5 o'clock in the morning, and I was working on the notes, and I noticed that Andy was there, and I was hoping he was going to react, and so I kept on typing.
Great.
And
you actually gave us instructions for hunting gazelles.
Yeah, exactly. So
there they are. Now watch. That gazelle will go exactly the same way each time. So make sure you've stationed another lion right where he's headed.
See, there they go.
Go, gazelles, go. Oh, no.
Here comes.
There's another lion waiting on the other side. Sorry, gazelles, not this time.
I was just hoping to not embarrass you in front of everybody that you stole that tip from Wayne Gretzky. Okay,
that's right. Go where the puck is headed.
Go where the gazelle is going to be. Don't go where the gazelle is.
That's right. That's the Wayne Gretzky gazelle, and there they are, happy lions enjoying gazelle sandwiches for dinner. Thank goodness they hid the gazelle in the bush. Is that a dog in there? What is that?
Really, Leo?
Looks like there's a German Shepherd in with the lions. Get out of there!
There's a little leg sticking out of there.
All right. And now we return from Olduvai Gorge for a tip from Andy Ihnatko.
Well, there is a certain bit of continuity from one kind of killing to another. They're both senseless, but one is a little bit easier to get out of your carpets, if you know what I mean. Yeah. This isn't necessarily specifically a lion tip, but one of the really cool one of the cool features of macOS that people don't use quite enough. If you are ever using a machine in sort of a public or public-ish environment, either an office where there are a lot of looky-loos around, or you're at the bakery cafe where you feel safe enough that you're willing to walk 5 steps away to get a refill on your 32-ounce soda, but not so secure that you don't want people to you don't want to risk people looking at your screen and maybe seeing the email you're composing. There is a hotkey that will instantly kill the screen, and if anytime, any point, anywhere, you just hit Control-Shift-Eject, that immediately blacks the screen. Doesn't put into screensaver, it turns off the screen. So it's good for instant privacy. It's immediate instant privacy. It's not, oh wait, let me show you a spinning beach ball while I decide how I'm going to turn that off. It kills the screen.
It's the boss key.
Exactly. And so it's also cool if you're on your last dregs of battery and you're really trying to stretch it out. And if you know that you're going to be distracted for about 3 minutes, kill the screen. That'll save you a bunch of battery life. And it's also really cool when you tag team it with another feature. If you go into the security panel of system preferences, you can click the checkbox that says it always require that you type in a password to wake this thing from sleep. So again, you got these Weisenheimers in your office who think it's really, really funny when you go down to the break room to get yourself some more coffee to say, gee, I'm going to jiggle this person's mouse on the computer and I'm going to change his desktop to something pornographic. Well, if you make sure that you can hit that hotkey combination, not only turn off the screen, but that machine will not be able to be used until you type in your password again. So there's at least a 75% chance that you will not be seeing nude pictures of Stockard Channing or something when you come back. Breakfast pastry
or Tyne Daly. Control Shift Eject.
Control Shift Eject. I would take Stockard Channing photos over Tyne Daly photos. They're both very talented. Tyne Daly, wonderful singer. The only person who can really suit the role of Mama Rose the way that Ethel Merman did, but nude modeling probably not her strongest suit. She's no Helen Mirren. That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
And somebody in the chat room said, "Don't just sell it, gazelle it." This breaking story just came in also from the chat room. This is from Tech Vibes. Vancouver company Zeit apparently being acquired by CNN for $20 to $25 million. Zeit is a flipboard alike that has been getting into trouble lately, being sued, receiving cease and desist letters from media companies saying you're misappropriating our websites, including the Washington Post, Time Warner, which owns CNN, AP, and Getty Images. Maybe instead of suing, Time Warner is just going to buy the sucker. Interesting story.
That's what we call the carrot and stick approach.
Yeah, we'll sue you, or $20 to $25 million later, you can go to the beach.
Pray I do not change the deal further.
Maybe that's exactly where this patent stuff is headed, where it's kind of a sign of prestige that your company is so advanced that you're being sued for infringement of some kind.
Right.
So if you can't do anything that's so advanced that people are going to sue you over, you can at least buy a company and be sued by proxy.
Isn't that nice? Let us now do our tips, picks. What do we call them? Picks of the week. We just did tips. Picks. Whoa. Picks of the week. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm replacing my Dropbox. That was kind of a tip of the week. Andy Ihnatko, your software or hardware?
Hardware.
It's hard. Both of you guys are hardware today.
Yes.
Well, that's all right. I'll do some software in that case.
Well, at least it's inexpensive hardware. This is the Connex Air Blue, which is a really simple little Bluetooth stereo adapter, and you can see it's about the size of a Hostess cupcake.
Oh, that's a good idea. That's a really good idea.
Why is the video frozen?
Well, because you're doing too much with it. You know, Skype doesn't like to be manipulated.
Okay. Well,
$49.
$49. It's teeny tiny. It weighs next to nothing. So little that I thought that, gee, wasn't this supposed to be battery rechargeable? But Bluetooth takes up less than any power whatsoever. So this will run about 20 hours, or at least 2 or 3 days in my car, based on just with one charge off of USB. And it really is just as simple as you take any device that has a headphone jack and you plug this thing into it, and presto, voila, it's Bluetooth enabled. So if you have like a really old car like mine that can't take a new Madden sort of a dashboard stereo, that's one solution. Also, I mean, there's so many I really like the really cool, like $150, $200, $300, send AirPlay to any set of speakers inside the house. Fact matter is that you probably already have a really cool pair of $50 subsat amplified speakers. You just take this thing for you can buy it for about retails $49, but you can get it on Amazon for $40, and you simply plug this into anything, and now you have Bluetooth. It turns that into Bluetooth speakers, and you can just repurpose it for basically any purpose that you ever want. If you take it on vacation, I just got this a couple weeks ago, but I can already see that when I travel. That means that instead of having to, I want to use the the in-room alarm clock or whatever, or iPhone dock. Will not work with my iPhone 4 or my iPad. And I don't really want to bother docking it that way. But I can at least just simply plug this into that thing via the headphone jack, and now that that console stereo that's on the nightstand will work perfectly fine with my iPhone.
So you can turn your hi-fi, which I still have. We were just using it this morning into a the big white box that Apple made.
The coffin.
The hi-fi. I remember that.
We were there.
We were there.
We crashed somebody's servers.
Steve Jobs said he was going to throw out his high-end stereo equipment. Yeah. So that's very cool. I think that replaces the cassette adapter for a lot of older cars. The Canex Air Blue portable Bluetooth music receiver, $49. Kanex. And now Alex Lindsay has another hardware. He's got it with him. Another hardware device. Okay, now you got to give it to me because I'm the one with the handy cam. So
that is a handy cam.
This replaces the Owly, the Bubo.
So I still like the Owly because you get a wide angle, and I think that the wide angle lens and the way you grip it is a little bit better. But this is this is Fostex, and this has little ears. This has got a lot to it. I'm gonna have to.
Yeah, so those are stereo headphones.
Yeah. So and you have a little input control here, and so you can put it here now. So these are directional. So if you want to interview someone, you can turn it so that you're talking and they're talking, and it comes in as stereo, so right and left. So you have both those are separate later. When you're recording it. So you'll have that. I haven't tested it for bleed over yet, but so you have that. You can of course put your little a little light here, or there is another. Check this out. You can hold it. No, but you covered up the part that I was trying to show.
I should hold it from here.
Here we go. So so you have phone's input. Of course, you have your charge.
I like that.
Charging with just a USB, no special connector. They really thought this out. Another input down there. So now you can only have two inputs at a time, but you can decide, hey, I really rather have my input at the bottom. You've got attachments for this or for a tripod. This is just this is if you hold on to that real tight just for a second.
It's good.
You can so you can have this down here, but it's also on the end as well. So there's another one there. I really feel like they thought this out really well. Now, what's important here is, and this is one of the things that's different from the Owly, which I'd love to see in the Owly, is that the audio coming into this is being managed by internally. It's not going through the headphone jack. So this is going through the 30-pin cable, and so what you're getting is a much cleaner sound.
Is it digital or is it's still analog? Probably.
It is. Well, it's analog here, but it's digital when it comes into
it's
digital.
Pins, it is
digital. It's coming in digitally. So what I found on my early test was that it was much cleaner audio than what we've been getting by just putting in the headphone jack. Yeah, it's about $150. And I have to admit, I saw it. I don't even know what I was searching for, and I saw it, and within 15 seconds, it was on its way. I was just like, oh my gosh, I have to have that.
This is cool.
Is that hot shoe just a mount, or is it an actual hot shoe for something?
No, it's not. It has no electrical connectors.
No, it's just that's a cold mount.
So you could put your, we have those light panel micros that would go right in there very nicely.
And again, what I'm going to be doing with it is I'm actually, to do my little things at like NAB or Macworld or whatever, this is the perfect little thing, and I can use my wireless, my Sennheiser with my wireless and plug that little wireless receiver. It'll slide right into that cold shoe mount at the top. So you could have a wireless lav, for instance, that you could plug into this input that would then get to, where you're going.
That is pretty sweet.
I thought that was pretty nifty.
Yeah, I really like that. Now, the way they've slid it in, it looks like it'd be easy to modify for other phones because, we've got new iPhones coming out. You'd probably be, if you were going to buy a new iPhone in October,
yes,
you might be prudent to wait.
You might want to think about it.
Yeah.
I would just probably turn this phone into the camera phone.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So
it looks like it'd be fairly easy for them to adjust this to fit other.
But I'd love to see other people play around with this. I'd love to see this with the Owly, the Bubo. I mean,
Owly's got it's on notice. You got to stand up and be counted, Owly.
But I think it's great for if you want to do on the road interviews, being able to turn the mic one way and one mic the other. At first, I thought that was kind of goofy.
Or you could put one mic down below.
Exactly.
Yeah. So if you wanted better, if you perhaps were not getting the
separation, or you could give them a lav or a headset or whatever and have it wired into there, and have the other one pointed at you. There's a lot of different options.
Or you could shoot with your mouth down here.
It could. I wouldn't suggest that.
You wouldn't recommend that?
No.
All right.
Just just the way I am. So anyway,
I'd really like to hear your opinion on this. Every time I see like an Owly or something like this, I always think that I bet that's something that only 1/2% of anybody would ever be interested in. But for that 0.5% is the absolute perfect thing.
That's the thing.
What describes the absolute perfect thing that's for? That as opposed to just saying, why don't I just get like a regular camcorder, dump the footage, and then do a quick edit in iMovie on a desktop?
Well, I think that number one is you have a lot of interface options for the iPhone. This is where cameras are going, in my opinion, which is that we're going to stop trying to build an interface. We're going to stop trying to build the brains. We're just going to build something that will go around your iPhone. The next step for this is to actually just create the sensor and slide this into it. Have a nice APS sensor, digital sensor. I mean, this is the future of cameras, not building more cameras with interfaces, because camera manufacturers are horrible at that. And so what they really should be doing is just this is what I'm excited about, is this is the slide in. Now, what this provides is I have lots and lots of mic options that are actually better. The mic options on this are actually better than my 5D Mark II, which the audio is completely worthless. So the being able to have this input and being able to have that control, this means I'm throwing something in. It's not as expensive, and I'm able to kind of put that stuff together. So anyway, that's mine.
We're going to wrap this up because somebody's making bacon in the other room, and I just can't take it anymore.
Well, we can bring it out because
well, maybe
they say everything is better with bacon. So maybe we could eat some on the show.
Could be fresh gazelle.
Yeah. Well, now that I've given some instructions on how to get your gazelle.
Put a gazelle on the bobby. Yes. My pick is free. It's Onyx. Everybody knows Onyx. Yes. It's a great tool for system stuff on OS 10. But if you've gone to Lion, you want to take a look at something called Deeper, also from the from Titanium Software. They give this away absolutely free, although your donations are welcome. And what Deeper does is allows you to go a little bit deeper. I love this for the Lion, to install Deeper. It allows you to go a little bit deeper into the functionality of OS 10 Lion. Oh, I got to give it each time you have to give it an administrator's password, of course, because you're going to change system settings. Gives you a nice little interface, and you can change things in the Finder, the dock, QuickTime, Safari, Mail. There's a nice help.
Is there a button in QuickTime to make it useful?
I'm curious. Let's see, because this is that new QuickTime, right? I just want a button that
says useful.
Always hide playback controls, never display the title bar, autoplay movies, corners of windows rounded, keep in full screen mode. Actually, I like it in full screen mode. I would keep it in full screen mode.
Yeah, that's still, the button I was looking for is not there.
It's not there?
Make it
be QuickTime 7?
Yeah.
Yeah. Disable Safari cache, enable single window mode, confirm when closing multiple pages. For mail, you can display text mails instead of HTML when available. I like that. Oh, it's going to force quit mail, so we're not going to do that right now. So a lot of the little features that you might have to modify a plist or use a write command from the terminal to do are available here.
This is great.
And free and very easy. In fact, one of the things I like about programs like this, you don't need this program to do any of these changes, but it exposes them so they're there. They're possible. For instance, I can have the dock be 3D with mirror effect or 2D with transparency effect. All of those things are somewhere. It's just having them all in one spot that makes it quite easy. Change your login, have your different background image on your login, show a message in the login window. I think I'd like to do this. This is Leo's, MacBook Air and so forth.
You're good.
Speaking of MacBook Airs, go ahead and finish because you were going to talk about this.
Well, no, I was going to ask you. Actually, I wasn't going to talk about that. I was going to talk about what is the little clock thing that you're using down at the bottom?
Oh, I like iClock. Haven't I ever picked iClock for you?
Not that I know of.
This is a fantastic program called iClock. It's a clock replacement. I'll make this iClock Pro. I'll make this be my second choice. And among other things, it has settings for floating clocks. And you can have all different floating clocks. That's the school clock. You can have Techno Silver. You can have a map clock. And then you can change what time zones are showing both in their menu, because it has a really nice, let's see if I can click it, where is it? There it is. Really nice menu of times around the world that you can customize. You're a big traveler, you might prefer to have that, but you can also put those clocks on the desktop, and you can say which clocks are there. Because we often operate in different time zones, including Zulu time, I like to have these clocks here on my desktop. You can also change how the clocks are on the desktop, if they're locked in or so forth. You can have them be digital or analog. I think this is nice. This is called iClock Pro. It's not free, from Plum Amazing. So there's a couple of tips for you, a couple of tricks. Now, I did earlier in the show promise you that I would tell you which Apple product is in short supply. Guesses. Which Apple product could you not be able to get? It's not the iPhone. It's not the iPad. It's not the 11-inch MacBook Air, which I would have thought it was. It's
it isn't. See, I was going to say, I was thinking it was the 11-inch MacBook Air.
It's the 13-inch MacBook Air.
Wow.
Now, I wonder if that has to do with the fact that they didn't make as many, perhaps? Because I prefer the 11-inch.
Supposedly, Apple had more. I've read from other sources that Apple had more faith and thought that the 11-inch was going to be the bigger seller.
So they just didn't make as many.
Well, I'm not really sure. It could be that there's a temporary blip. If you go to the Apple Store right now, I did check about an hour before the show, and they are still saying on the basic 13-inch Air ships in 24 hours. On Amazon, however, where there's a whole bunch of different retailers contributing to any one different product, you can see a couple of different retailers that are saying, yes, we have the $1,499 MacBook Air 13-inch for only $1,900. We will take cash, check, or Visa.
You can get it, but you're going to pay.
I think so. I think that there's a little bit of fluctuation in the supply. But as far as I know, just about a couple hours ago, Apple had plenty on stock.
Well, you and I both have 11 inches.
Yep.
Andy, do you have a preference for 11 or 13?
I have a preference for 11. I think that if you don't already have a decent MacBook, that's a really tough decision between using the 13-inch as your primary Mac, or at least your primary mobile Mac. If you already have a MacBook, and I have the 15-inch, which is my daily driver, no matter whether I'm in the office or have big projects I need to do on the road. But if you already have that, the whole point is get something that's less expensive and smaller and lighter, and I'm willing to trade 2 or 3 hours worth of battery life for it. So I think I'm still very much tempted by the 11-inch Air. I haven't made a decision yet, but I wouldn't be shocked if I wound up with one in the next 30 days. Or so.
I am madly in love with my 11 inches.
I really,
yeah. And we have a show title.
What? Andy Ihnatko writes for the Chicago Sun-Times, and that gives him certain privileges, such as sneak peeks at Roger Ebert's new book. I'm so jelly. Perhaps someday soon we can have Mr. Ebert on the show.
I will pass that along, but goodness gracious. If you go to RogerEbert.com, you can find like the first chapter of this online already. It doesn't ship for another few weeks. But again, Roger's a friend of mine. I knew that there was a better than likely chance that he would be sending me a copy. But even so, as soon as I read that saying, where's the button to push so I can buy this on the Kindle? Where can I buy it? I want to buy this book. And so I pre-ordered the Kindle edition just based on that first chapter.
Well, I just like the first sentence.
Let me tell you something.
What's the first sentence?
There's going to be the audiobook is going to be shipping the same day. You will freak when you hear who's reading it.
Wow.
I'm not sure if I'm privileged to say.
Yeah, don't say it.
But
keep it a secret.
It will be the Holy Mother of God, because this is the name that if you're in the office and they're talking about who they're thinking about they're trying to get for your audiobook, that's the name that says, oh, well, obviously that'd be awesome, but there's no way we're going to get fill in the blank. And they got fill in the blank.
Wow. Well, it's Roger Ebert. The first sentence, I was born inside the movie of my life. Love that. I just want to buy it for that.
It's lyric.
Life itself. Yeah, I cannot wait to read it. Andy Ihnatko, you can read him all the time in the Chicago Sun-Times and on his website, www.cwob.com. He's on Twitter @Ihnatko. Thank you, Andy, for being here as always, Mr. Purple Shirt. And Mr. Black Shirt, Mr. Alex Lindsay. He's at the Pixel Corps. They've been doing such a great thing over there.
We've been having some fun.
You just finished your Final Cut 10 training, and I talked to so many people who were just thrilled. They just loved it.
It went really well.
Steve Martin, not the actor, the trainer.
Yes, and Mark Spencer.
And the great Mark Spencer.
I mean, really the best trainers, some of the best trainers that you could find. But we've been adding to it. So we have barbecues at my place, and there's like a little bit of a,
it's becoming Big Nerd Ranch for training in media.
I don't think it's quite as organized as Big Nerd, but it's definitely, but we're definitely having a lot of fun with it, and we're having fun with the green screen, as you saw.
We had
fire.
We had our grand opening party on Sunday night. Really great invitation-only event. I'm still wearing my suit. And
he just woke up this morning.
Yeah, it was the perp walk. Or what do you call it? The walk of shame. But one of the things you did unbidden, and I was really thrilled you did it.
We had so much fun.
You set up your green screen and a jib camera and great backdrops. And did Brian Brushwood do some fire in there?
He came in and said, "Can I eat fire in here?" And I was like, "Just don't do it over the wood."
That's a test of a green screen. If a green screen can handle fire eating,
exactly. We had we were keen fire eating on the wall
in real time
while drinking martinis.
And yeah, the
So
martini
sorry,
bar.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was fun.
Martini bar snuck up on a few of our guests. And yeah, there they are getting. Yeah, they had to sit down. Oh, this is the cake. That's my friend Tim Tatum. He's actually a martini fanatic, and he loved your martinis. And here we are. Oh, they're cake all over the floor right now, and I'm sorry. You would pick that part of the clip to show, wouldn't you?
Too many martinis.
Yeah, I love red velvet cake.
It's the Dean Martin Show, starring Leo Laporte. Now let's get out the Gold Diggers. A little musical number called Stop.
Everybody loves somebody sometime. Pixelcore.com for the Multimedia Guild of Artists and more information about their trainings and, of course, live stuff, too, every Thursday.
Yep.
Pixelcore.com/live. Pixelcore.tv for your great podcasts.
We're having fun. We're going to be really ramping up some more stuff in the fall now that we're settling into the new studio.
Now that I'm green with envy.
Yes.
Green screen with envy. We thank you all for being here. We do this show at 11 a.m. Pacific every Tuesday. That's 2 p.m. Eastern Time. According to my big clocks here, it's 1800 UTC. No, it's, yes, 1800. No, 17. Yeah, it was something like that. 11 plus 8 is 1900 UTC at live.twit.tv. And I hope you will tune in for the live edition of the show. If you are watching live in just a few minutes, Twit Photo coming up, and then, of course, Tech News Today, 2:30 every Monday through Friday, Pacific Time, 5:30 Eastern at live.twit.tv. I'm Leo Laporte. Thank you so much for joining us. Now get back to work. Break time is over.